Welcome to the right twist cutting and sewing step-by-step instructions for the Infinity Twist Quilt-Along. You will need a focus fabric 8.5 by 8.5, then a rectangle 3.5 by 14.5 and 3.5 by 17.5 for the twist fabrics 1 and 2. To keep myself organized, I also like to get the labels out. I double check that the rectangles are right sides up. This ensures that when we cut the triangles, that the angles are cut correctly. For this, we need to make sure that the 90-degree angle is on the right side. So we're going to cut the rectangle from the bottom left to the top right. Again, double checking that the angle is in the right location. Sorry, I got my shoulder in the way here cutting, but I'm basically cutting to make sure that the 90-degree angle is on the right side. And let's do the same thing for the other one. And now you're ready to sew. So I have the focus fabric and the first set of triangles. I line up the 90-degree angle of the focus and the rectangle, and then I do a mirror image of what I did for the right hand twist, but for this time I start the partial seam about 1.5 inches up from the end, and then I sew right off to the top. So we still have our partial seam, but we're sewing just in a slightly different way from the last time we did it. Sew it off till the end, then we get just that, press that corner piece of the seam to make sure it lies flat for when you sew on the next triangle. And we just sew it off, line it right up, 90-degree angles, and sew it off to the end. Now we have the magic of the iron, and we just quicken it up a bit to sew the last piece off. Another one, here's the last triangle. And then we're ready to sew the partial seam. So we're going to line it up, we're going to turn it over. We're going to move our needle back about 1.5 inches to where the existing stitching is, and we place our needle exactly down on top of the line of stitching. We make sure it's all correct, and then we sew it off to the end. And voila, here is ready to be trimmed up on all sides. The other two sides, and then we have the first part of the block complete. Repeat the process and sew the 4 other triangles on. Then we trim it up on all 4 sides to do the right twist, which will end up being 14.5 by 14.5 inches.